Hi guys, I'm back. This is Lachette with Scarlet Moon Creations, and here is your April favorites video. So this month I actually don't have a lot to talk about, um, which is part of why this video is a little bit late. But let's just get into it. Um, these favorites are the things that I think helped me with my self-care during the month of April 2018, and so I'm sharing them with you as always in hopes that they may be of service to you. So, the astrology podcast, I've actually been meaning to talk about this several times in my favorites videos. One of my goals for 2018 was to, or is to, learn more about astrology, become more proficient in my astrology readings. And one of the things that is helping me is the astrology podcast. Now, it's actually the first podcast I've ever listened to, ever. Podcasts are pretty new to me. I started listening to this podcast, I think, in December of last year. Um, I like the three astrologers on there, and their personalities are each unique to each other, but also, what's the word I'm looking for? Their backgrounds and what they focus on with regards to astrology is unique and complementary as well. So check out the astrology podcast. Personally, I listen to it on Google Play Music, but there's also they have the YouTube channel, and I should clarify. So the three astrologers I'm talking about is the main host, Chris Brennan, who is on every podcast that's put out, but also they do monthly, what's the word I'm looking for? Monthly forecasts. And the two people, the two other astrologers that Chris has on the show with him on those months, on those particular episodes, are Austin Coppock and Kelly Surtees. And so each of them all have their own websites as well, which you should check out. And I do like the other episodes. I just really appreciate having those monthly forecasts to listen to. They're very detailed. They each have their own, like I said, niche within astrology that complements each other, and they go over these things. The other episodes are more specific astrology topics, and it's just nice to have that information that I can listen to while I'm washing the dishes or anything else. I've found that personally astrology kind of gets me in a, oddly enough, magical, mystical, ritual mood. So that is my first recommendation for April. My second is related to astrology as well. I don't really talk about my own products in my favorites, even though I use them. Though I wouldn't, offer things that I wouldn't use. But this one, I feel I have to because I used it a lot this month. This is my Taurus bath soap. This is the 12-ounce jar. And here's a photo from Instagram. And basically, what I do for each Zodiac bath soak is they have a basic bath base, sea salts and Epsom salts, and to that I add herbs and oils and some resins and roots that correspond with that particular sign or zodiac sign, or some energy of that sign. So it could be like an herb that corresponds with the element or the modality of the sign, or the oil that corresponds with some of the characteristics of that particular sign. And there's a lot of planets astrologically in the sign of Taurus in April and early May, and I really was in a, like I said, magical mood. So I was doing rituals, and I felt the need to be grounded and also, bring beauty into my life, and that will lead me into my next favorites. But just that Venus energy, that Taurus energy, I really wanted it and needed it in my rituals, and so I had like a bunch of ritual baths, both as the ritual itself and as a precursor kind of cleansing and empowering conditional bath to prepare me for a ritual outside of the bathtub. And it was just great. I really appreciate having this bath salt. If you like the bath, if you like to try some, you can always get samples or just buy a jar. There are smaller jars than the ones I showed you. I just used the biggest one I had on hand at the time. And but yeah, you can find out the different sizes I have available in the description down below. Next, April is like cherry blossom season, and it's not only cherry blossoms that bloom, but most flowering plants like April, early May. That's when they come out, and they have a very, very short lifespan. And so here in New York City, I have the great honor of having two botanical gardens. There's one in Brooklyn, and there's one here in the Bronx where I live. And luckily enough, they also have free days or free times during certain days. So I was very gung-ho about visiting both. I went several times in April, and it was a lot of work trying to fit my personal schedule with visiting on free days, because I didn't have really the extra money except for once or twice to pay, and I'm not a member at this time. So first, the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, and that's the map. I'm going to show you very quickly the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. And April is also when the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens has their Sakura Matsuri Festival, which is the cherry blossom festival. Sakura is the Japanese word for cherry blossoms, and they have it there. It's a very Japanese themed event, so it's not just about cherry blossoms. I've been before, but I could not attend this year because that weekend was also the weekend of my brother's baby shower. But they have it at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens because there they have the, I don't know if you can see this here, the Japanese park and pond, and then here is where they have a huge section of the garden for cherry blossoms. So all of this is cherry blossoms, the cherry blossom walk, a whole esplanade. So it's just absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, I got there just before most of the cherry esplanade had bloomed. So I have a few pictures I've been showing here, but none of cherry blossoms because they haven't bloomed yet. There's Also like peonies, lilacs, and pear and crab apples, and peach trees. All of these are flowering trees at that time of year. Oh, and my favorites, I think my top three flowers, magnolias. I collected tons of petals because they were already falling, and it was just wonderful. Even though I was there on the day when it was wet and cold, um, when I took most of those pictures. So then, the New York Botanical Gardens. This is like, I think this is the biggest botanical gardens in the country. Um, it is much bigger than the Brooklyn one. Here's the map inside. And here's a few of my pictures. Again, these pictures are from the beginning of April, so not very much was blooming yet. And then when I went back, I was just too into it. They also have a cherry collection, but it's much smaller. I can show you here. Yeah, that's their cherry collection. Sorry. When I went, I saw rhododendrons, some tulips, and the beginning of the magnolias, which is a huge thing. Not tulips, some daffodils. Tulips were at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. So, yeah. Just a great time was had by all. These are great parks to go to, places to go to for free. If you're in New York City, the New York Botanical Gardens is free on Wednesdays all day. So that's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then it's free from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturdays. Brooklyn Botanical Gardens is free on Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Otherwise, I think for both, it is $15 to get in. I think. I do believe. So if you don't have a membership or a pass, and that does not include going inside most of the buildings that are not shops, so keep that in mind. But they are both also very accessible, and the weather is nice now for the most part, so you can just go and walk around the grounds and experience tons. Oh, another flowering plant, forsythia, which I've seen a lot around this area, the New York City, New York State, New Jersey area, and I learned quite a bit about it that particular day. So do check them out. It was, just beauty and color and growth and just that great earth energy, which is Taurus season all day every day, but you can, even without those particular flowering plants, there will be other stuff blooming now and later, so do check out either botanical gardens or both if you can. So next, this is, I usually talk about Instagram people, and I will have one person from Instagram, but the next two are from Twitter. Now, Twitter, I don't have a professional or Scarlet Moon Creations account on, but I am on there fairly often for personal reasons. And two of the accounts I follow because I connected with them through the Pagan Business Network, but they have some great stuff that they post on Twitter in particular. First is Dr. Ellen Albertson, and this is her handle at ER Albertson on Twitter. And what I like is she puts out daily affirmations, and I just kind of fell into using them. If you've been following me for a couple months, you know that I did a video about affirmations, and I'll link it in the description below so you can check that out. But I like her affirmations. They're obviously general. They're not specifically for a particular person, but they're not too general and too wishy-washy, which I like. I find them useful, and they're reminders, positive reminders, as affirmations should be. So do check out Dr. Ellen Albertson's account on Twitter. Next is David Zunker at Isis Spirit. Isis Priest, his Twitter handle there. And for the most part, he puts up daily astrology on his Twitter account. And it's not horoscopes, it's astrology. So what planets are in what signs at during that 24-hour period of the day. And the most auspicious ones, not, every single planet and star and house, all of that stuff. And like what energies you can be looking at working with during that day. So it's another great account, and it's, having that daily look at what's going on astrologically in the skies is helping me to tune my brain more to astrology, and remembering certain connections, meanings, and signs. So do check out Mr. Zunker, Isis Priest, on Twitter. So I do have someone from Instagram. Dwell in Magic is Jessica Dumas, and actually I found her website first and then followed her on Instagram, but that's okay. And what I really like is the fact that she has put together kind of these moon magic self-care little books, or not books, but like worksheets. There we go. Worksheets that you can do sacred self-care following the phases of the moon, and in particular on her Instagram, and you can see in her saved stories, the little circles at the top of her account here, she shows you she uses the worksheets, how she goes about doing her own sacred self-care with each phase of the moon. So there's a new moon, waxing moon, full moon, and waning moon. So we're in the waxing moon right now, and like she shows you, a glimpse of the worksheets, and some of the responses that she puts in, the cards that she uses, what else she does for the waxing moon to take care of her sacred self-care. And her account is just really magical, filled with beauty and advice, and she's just a lovely presence on the internet. So go ahead and follow Jessica Dwell in Magic. I follow a lot of Jessicas. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Let's see. And lastly, okay, so this is the reason, well, this is not the reason, but the reason why I don't have very many things to talk about this month for my monthly favorites is because April and then the very beginning of May was a very, 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 very busy month. I work for myself, but I do try to keep to some kind of schedule during the week, and then on weekends I'm kind of like recovering. I am an introvert, and basically at foundation levels that means that I get energy, I recharge myself and my energy better when I'm alone without people. People tend to kind of suck up my energy, and without really trying. I'm not talking about like psychic vampires or anything that complex here. It's just it takes a lot of energy for me personally just to be around people, even those I love, and enjoy being around. So for me to recharge, to feel 100% again, I usually like come home, go in my room, and like lock everything and everyone else out. Um, that's, like self-care I've been doing since I was a kid, just because I know that makes me feel better. Um, with the very busy April, I was going to a lot of events on the weekends, and I had stuff taking in preparing for a lot of the events on the weekends. I was doing a lot of work that would go well into the evening, so I was tired with all that preparation and all those events and all of those people. I enjoyed every second of it, but it was exhausting. And so one of my biggest, the biggest form of self-care for me was sleep. Um, to give you an example, going to the botanical gardens, either one, it was a lot of work. I would have to travel on public transportation, which is one of my number one energy suckers. Um, and then, because it's filled with people and their energy and their vibes, all the stuff going on the public transportation system. If you live in a big city where people use public transit as the number one way to get around, you understand what I'm talking about. Um, but there's and then like the gardens are not empty, you know. Um, maybe on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. the New York Botanical Gardens is mostly empty, but nice weather, the flowering trees are out, everybody wants to go. They're crowded, and as much as I enjoyed the energy I got from being in an earthy place with all these beautiful flowers and just the grass and the earth and being outdoors in the sun and the wind and the rain, it was a lot. By the time I get home, I'm just like, ugh. And then there was my brother's baby shower, tons of new people, which was a little stressful. Uh, and I did a workshop at a Beltane festival for book magical journaling and record keeping, and it was nicely attended. Thank you for all the people who attended. You will be getting an email soon, and that was a lot. I had to wake up early and travel, and then we stayed up late to prepare for the next day and then get there early, and then I took like 2 naps in the car throughout the day, and I was just exhausted by the time I got home. I feel like I slept for like 3 or 4 days after that with small breaks to eat and use the bathroom, and that was it. So sleep was the number one thing for self-care for me. Just being in my own space, sleeping. Um, I recommend it to everyone. Thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you in the May favorites. Bye.